Hello everyone, the topic today is periodontal pocket. In this I will be dealing about the definition of pocket, the classification and various types, and how a pocket is actually formed. As you can see in the picture, the tooth is surrounded by a V-shaped crevice which is called the gingival sulcus. The lining of the gingival sulcus is called the sulcular epithelium, which is a non-keratinized epithelium. As your sulcular epithelium ends is the connection that connects your gingiva to the tooth, and that is a very important junction called junctional epithelium, which is again non-keratinized. So periodontal pocket basically is this pathologic deepening of the gingival sulcus. In normal healthy gingiva, the probing depth or the depth of the sulcus is around 2 to 3 millimeters, which is considered normal. It's only when this deepens or the sulcus deepens, it is called as a periodontal pocket. So for the sulcus to deepen, you should have something called as a viable junctional epithelium, and this junctional epithelium has to move apically, leading to pocket formation. And next what happens is loss of the connective tissue, the periodontal ligament and the alveolar bone. So this is the whole concept of periodontitis, which begins with gingivitis. There is inflammation of the marginal gingiva, the sulcus starts to deepen, there is change in the microbial flora leading to connective tissue loss, loss of periodontal ligament and loss of alveolar bone. So how do you define a periodontal pocket? As I said, periodontal pocket is a pathologically deepened gingival sulcus. Again, your sulcus can deepen because of two reasons. One, when your marginal gingiva itself is moving coronally, as you see in the picture. Okay, so when your marginal gingiva is inflamed and it is moving coronally, your sulcus automatically deepens. However, your junctional epithelium is not moving apically. Okay, so this is also called as gingival enlargement. So the attachment will remain at the normal level as earlier, but the inflamed tissue will swell upwards, creating the bulk and depth of the sulcus. The second one, which is more important to us in this topic, is the apical displacement of the junctional epithelium. So as you see in the picture, your marginal gingiva is at the level of the CEJ as it is supposed to be. However, your junctional epithelium, that is the connection between your tooth and the gingiva, that is moving apically. Okay, once that moves apically, your biofilm or the plaque or the microorganisms, they start forming subgingival plaque and calculus, leading to connective tissue loss and bone loss. So your junctional epithelium is migrating downwards the root surface and it is accompanied by bone loss. So in these two cases, there is a pathologic deepening of the gingival sulcus, either because of coronal displacement or apical displacement. So how do you classify pocket? Based on the level of your pocket base and the alveolar crest. Okay, the first one is your gingival pocket. It's also called as a pseudo pocket. Okay, why do we call it a pseudo pocket? Because there is no loss of attachment happening here. It's only the gingival margin that has shifted coronally, which leads to the depth. Okay, so this is not a true pocket, it is just a pseudo pocket or a gingival pocket. The other classification is true pocket. That is when there is an apical migration of junctional epithelium, what we call it is a true pocket. Now when you have a true pocket, you can again divide it into suprabony pocket and infrabony or intrabony pocket. Okay, so there are several names given to it. A suprabony pocket is also called as a supracrestal or a supraalveolar pocket, whereas an infrabony pocket is called as an infrabony, subcrestal or intraalveolar. So what does this mean? We all see in this there is a alveolar bone level. Okay, though there is resorption, there is a level of alveolar bone and your base of the pocket is very much coronal to the alveolar crest, right? So the base of the pocket is coronal to the alveolar crest in a suprabony pocket. The bone loss most commonly in such pockets are horizontal bone loss. Okay, when you come to an intrabony pocket, here the base of the pocket is apical to the crest of the alveolar bone. That means it's not a horizontal bone loss, it is a vertical or an oblique bone loss. So the lateral wall of the pocket lies between the tooth and the alveolar bone, right? Depending upon the surfaces involved and the morphology of the pocket, you can again divide them into simple, compound and complex. So simple pocket is, it involves only one surface. Compound involves two or more surfaces. A complex pocket or a spiral pocket is one where it originates from one tooth surface, it twists around the tooth and then it involves one or more additional surfaces. Complex pockets are difficult to treat because they begin in one end and they end elsewhere, okay, and they have a deep tortuous course. So these kinds of pockets are more commonly seen in the furcation areas. So as I explained, you have a healthy sulcus lined by the sulcular epithelium, and then there is a pocket which is lined by the pocket epithelium. So your sulcular epithelium is basically getting converted into pocket epithelium and the sulcus is deepening. So when you have a healthy gingival sulcus, how does it maintain itself is, there are very few microorganisms, coccoid cells and straight rods. So there is no pathology happening in a healthy sulcus. However, when you have a periodontal pocket, the microorganisms change. That is, from aerobic they become anaerobic, from gram positive they become gram negative, and there are more number of spirochetes and motile rods. However, the mere presence of these bacteria are not responsible for future attachment or bone loss. That is where your plaque hypothesis comes into picture. You have a specific plaque hypothesis, you have a non-specific hypothesis, you have a ecological plaque hypothesis. All these are hypotheses which tell you that it's not just the bulk of microorganisms that is causing the periodontal pocket and periodontal disease. So what is the old concept? The old concept was periodontal tissue destruction is linked with the bacterial action. That means it's the amount of bacteria and the action that is portrayed by the bacteria that is causing the disease. However, the modern or the paradigm shift that has happened is, there is a bacterial attack, that is the initiation, okay. Without bacterial attack or without biofilm or a plaque, you cannot have periodontitis, okay. So once there is a bacterial attack and there are toxins and lipopolysaccharides and endotoxins that are released by these microorganisms, your host tends to defend it. So there is an immuno-inflammatory response. So what are the initial cells that reach the area? Those are your PMNs, polymorphonuclear leukocytes. So they try to defend all these microorganisms, but at a point what happens is, there is a tipping that is happening. That is, your host response is so strong that it tends to destroy the collagen and the bone, okay. So the transition from the normal sulcus to a pathologic pocket, it usually begins as inflammatory change in the connective tissue, which is driven by our own host response. So how does it happen? So we all know what are cytokines, right? Cytokines, they are proteins that are released by its cells and they trigger specific immune responses. So you have pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory cytokines. So when you have a bacterial assault happening, your neutrophils reach there and then the monocytes and other inflammatory cells, and they release something called as pro-inflammatory cytokines, which is required for inflammation, which is actually a process of body response to bacteria. So these inflammatory cytokines are mainly interleukin-1 alpha and tumor necrosis factor beta. So what these do is, they cause inflammation. At the same point, there are anti-inflammatory cytokines also, which when released will counteract or balance out the action of pro-inflammatory cytokines. So when there is a periodontal disease progression happening, there is a tip, okay. Your anti-inflammatory cytokines are reduced and your pro-inflammatory cytokines are increased, causing tissue destruction. So how does a pocket form? Okay, so in the phase 1 you have a trigger. So what is that trigger? It's your plaque. So when you have a bacterial trigger or bacterial plaque on the tooth surface, your marginal gingiva automatically becomes inflamed, causing gingivitis. So gingivitis is the most common periodontal disease and it is reversible. That is, if you rid the area of plaque and plaque retentive features, your gingiva is going to be restored back to health and your sulcus depth is going to be maintained. However, when this doesn't happen, your sulcus starts to deepen, okay. Your tissue is edematous, there is swelling in the gingival margin leading to a deeper pocket. So initially it's a pseudo pocket that is formed, and once that happens, the plaque bacteria get an area to settle down. Okay, so as the pocket deepens, your bacteria also are increasing in number, and the type of bacteria and microbiological data is also changing. Okay, so from gram positive organisms you are getting more of gram negative organisms. From aerobic you are getting anaerobic organisms, mainly your periodontal pathogens from the red complex, that is your P. gingivalis, Tannerella forsythia and Treponema denticola. So when this happens, they release what you call is your virulence factors. So what are virulence factors? The virulence factors are those that the bacteria release to invade the host system. Okay, so when the lipopolysaccharides or endotoxins are released by these bacteria, your host immune response gets activated. So that is the first phase of pathogenesis of pocket formation. Now there are two ways in which this can act. One, it acts on the epithelium. Second, it acts on the connective tissue. So we all know what is the connective tissue made up of. It is made up of collagen. So if the connective tissue destruction has to happen, it has to happen by destroying the collagen. So there are two ways by which collagen fibers can be destroyed just apical to the junctional epithelium, and these are then replaced by inflammatory cells and edematous fluid. So there are two ways. One is an extracellular degradation, one is an intracellular degradation. So what is an extracellular degradation? Your fibroblasts, PMNs, macrophages, they all release something called as matrix metalloproteinases or MMPs. Okay, so these MMPs are nothing but collagenases, and they cleave the intact collagen fibrils into smaller peptides. Okay, so this is one way. Second way is intracellular. We all know the cells that form collagen and resorb collagen are called as fibroblasts. So these fibroblasts will actively phagocytose your collagen fibrils, and then they will break or cleave the collagen and digest them internally, leading to an overall breakdown of the connective tissue. So this is what is happening in the connective tissue part. So what is happening? One, you have the bacteria in the sulcus, connective tissue attachment is going away, then is your epithelium shifting apically. So when your junctional epithelium, that is a narrow strip of epithelium that connects the gingiva to the tooth. So when this starts moving apically, it tends to have finger-like projections and it starts moving apically. So when your polymorphonuclear neutrophils, they migrate towards the coronal portion of the junctional epithelium, and when their content exceeds 60%, then the junctional epithelium starts losing its attachment to the tooth and it starts moving apically. So initially the coronal portion will detach, and then the apical portion will provide finger-like projections, and the sulcus basically shifts downwards, and the sulcular epithelium is slowly replaced by a heavily, densely infiltrated pocket epithelium. So then there is a deepened periodontal pocket. Now what is happening when there is a deep periodontal pocket? There is an anaerobic shift, because in this area the oxygen is very low. So when your redox potential is very low, your aerobic bacteria cannot thrive, whereas your anaerobic bacteria can thrive very well. Example is your red complex bacteria, your periodontal pathogens, spirochetes and motile rods. So when this happens, there is ultimately bone loss and tooth loss. Okay, so this is how the pathogenesis of pocket happens. So histopathologically, when you see the pocket epithelium, the earlier sulcular epithelium which has now got converted into pocket epithelium. So we all know there is epithelium and there is connective tissue. So what's happening in the connective tissue is there is dense infiltration of inflammatory cells. There are 80% of plasma cells, plus there are lymphocytes and PMNs. Edematous tissue, there are connective tissue cells, blood vessels which are highly engorged and dilated. Single or multiple areas of suppuration also can be seen in the connective tissue. Whereas in the epithelium, what is happening is the epithelial cells, they are losing their desmosomal and hemidesmosomal attachments, and there are ulcerations that are forming. So the epithelial retapex become deeper, and there are micro ulcerations that are happening. Once this happens, your collagen is exposed to bacteria. So the bacterial invasion happens directly into the connective tissue without the need of chemotaxis. So this is what happens in the lateral wall of the pocket. So if you see the lateral wall of the pocket, you have certain areas which I will explain. Area of quiescence, area of bacterial accumulation, area of leukocyte emergence, leukocyte bacterial interaction, intense epithelial desquamation, ulceration and hemorrhage. So the first one is area of quiescence. So quiescence is basically inactivity. So these are minimal activity areas. There is a relatively flat surface with minor depressions. Second, in these depressions in the epithelial cells, there is bacterial accumulation that is happening. So once there is bacterial accumulation, your body is going to react. So how does it react? It leading to your leukocytes. So from the bloodstream, the leukocytes go to the area where there is bacteria or bacterial plaque, right? So leukocytes will emerge into the pocket wall and then enter the connective tissue. And then there is a leukocyte and bacterial interaction that is taking place. There is active phagocytosis or destruction happening. The bacterial plaque matrix that is against the epithelium is covered by a fibrin-like material, okay? So what is this doing? This fibrin-like material is nothing but the bacteria trying to protect itself from the host. Once that happens, there is extensive desquamation, that is your epithelial squames start to peel away with some amount of bacteria attached to it. So once your epithelial cells are peeling away, there is ulceration. Once ulceration is there, your epithelial barrier has got disrupted, the connective tissue is completely exposed. So once the connective tissue is exposed, the bacteria can directly enter the connective tissue and the ulcerated area will bleed, leading to hemorrhage in erythrocytes. So this is how your lateral surface of the wall looks like. So how do you totally give an explanation of the periodontal pocket ecosystem? So pocket is not just a empty space, okay? So it is an area which is a self-perpetuating engine of tissue destruction. Why do I call it a self-perpetuating engine? Is because of the pocket depth, it is creating an anaerobic reservoir. So in this anaerobic reservoir, you have motile rods, you have spirochetes, you have unattached plaque. Okay, and this continues to grow until there is complete loss of attachment, complete loss of bone. So on one side you have the root surface, on the other side you have the soft tissue wall. On the root surface you have calculus, which is again covered by plaque, endotoxins reaching the cementum of the root causing cementum disruption. On the other side you have the soft tissue wall, which is 80% plasma cells, engorged vessels, micro ulcerations and suppuration. Okay, so this is how the entire area looks like when it is not treated. So periodontal pocket basically is creating a self-sustaining feedback loop. Okay, so there is a pocket formation. If you do not do a pocket reduction therapy, plaque trap is created. That is, that area becomes impossible for normal oral hygiene procedures. So there is a continuous bacterial challenge which will continuously stimulate our host for an immune response. Once your immune system is so highly activated, it releases collagenases or MMPs, cytokines, which will more and more degrade collagen and bone. So ultimately this feedback continues, leading to tooth loss. So pocket reduction therapy or periodontal therapy is very much crucial so that the pocket does not form a self-sustaining ecosystem. Thank you.